Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 478. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today, we've got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. No complaints. This week on the show, we'll be reviewing Blackberry, which is playing in theaters right now. We'll also be going over some we're watching on the watch list and new releases in theaters, VOD, and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. If you have a moment, consider reviewing us on iTunes. That'd be great. New Saved by the 90s getting recorded this week. Pretty excited about it. We're doing video game movies of the 90s, so very familiar with this topic. But some of these movies, it's been a while since I revisited. Some of them I've seen very recently, and I'm not really looking forward to going back and watching them again so soon after watching them. Double Dragon is one specifically. That came out on Blu-ray like not too long ago, and I reviewed it then, and it just sucked. Either way, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited to do that, so stay tuned for that. I'll make an announcement on when that's coming out. Let's talk about Blackberry. This is directed by Matt Johnson, written by Matt Johnson, Jackie McNish, and Matthew Miller. I have a synopsis here. The story of the meteoric rise and catastrophic demise of the world's first smartphone. Now, I will say that before we get into this, there's like several things about this movie that like make my opinions like completely biased in multiple ways. Like this is a type of movie that I just can't have like I can't really have an objective opinion on it just because there's like, first of all, Matt Johnson, big fan of his. He's been on the show like 4 times. I've chatted with him offline, so I like him quite a bit, and I like his movies a lot. And also, this is like technology. You know, I'm in technology. Like my career field's in technology, so I'm always gonna sort of be into this type of movie to begin with. So I wanted to get that stuff out of the way first as like a preamble on my opinions. We'll start it with you though, Kevin. What were your initial impressions of Blackberry?
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah.
'Cause I can't remember. Did you have a Blackberry?
No, I never had a Blackberry. No,
you had a Palm though, right?
I did. I had like, so Palm, they tried to enter the smartphone market later on, like to compete with Blackberry. So they released this device called the Palm One, which it was basically a direct competitor to Blackberry, and it failed miserably. I had that phone.
Okay. Because when we started this movie, I had completely forgotten about Palm as like a smartphone alternative, because my wife had one as well, and I had completely forgotten about them.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because, you know, Blackberry destroyed Palm basically because Palm just couldn't, you know, they had the Palm Pilot, which was a digital organizer, and that came out, you know, a long time ago, but they couldn't crack the cell phone code. They couldn't get that phone functionality in there. Yeah. And that's what Blackberry did and ended up crushing them. And then of course Blackberry themselves got crushed by Apple when the iPhone came out.
Yeah, they sure did. I mean, going into this, I think the biggest thing for me as a whole was Glenn Howerton. Because I think if Glenn Howerton wasn't in this movie, I probably would have no interest in it whatsoever. Now, I did find it somewhat interesting in terms of the, you know, like the historical aspect of Blackberry's rise and fall. But it wasn't something that I was like overly interested in. Right, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I know what happened to Blackberry. That wasn't too long ago.
Right.
Which is the craziest thing of this, the realization of watching this movie is like me and my wife discussing afterwards is like, this is all just very recent, but it also feels like it was fucking ages ago. Like Blackberry seems like a thing from like the distant past,
Mm-hmm.
but just the where smartphones have gone in a relatively short time is just fucking insane.
Oh yeah,
Because it wasn't
it
that
is.
long ago that I didn't even have a smartphone.
Yeah, you were
I
late.
mean,
You were late to the
yeah,
party too.
yeah, I was late to the party, obviously, but as I usually am. But still, like, it's just insane, like the advancements that have been made in a relatively short time.
Yeah, and you know that's largely due to the advances that BlackBerry made. I mean, these I have a hard time believing that Apple didn't at least pull inspiration or maybe even straight up just steal ideas from BlackBerry.
Oh yeah, and it's even how they kind of point out to it towards the end of like just kind of just slightly changing what they're doing. You know, like not selling minutes instead and selling data
Mm-hmm.
instead,
Yeah.
and people fell for it.
Yep. Yeah. It was kind of a just it disrupted the whole like cell phone market, which you know the cell phone market in and of itself was sort of in its infancy, and this just completely revolutionized it. And man, yeah, they were on top of the world there for a minute, and then
Yeah,
unfortunately, like most tech companies, they get toppled.
and I think that was the thing that I knew kind of going into this, and it played out that way pretty quickly. Is like most tech stories are the same. Really, is it's usually like a small group of like super nerdy guys that
Mm-hmm.
are like best buds, right? And of course, they have to get someone on the business side to come in and help them out. And then, you know, success. And then, much like everything in terms of going, you know, the capitalism route, is you have to innovate, build. And at a certain point, you can't do that anymore. And someone else is going to do it. And you go by the wayside and someone else takes your place.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that storyline is kind of like, eh, you know, it's not that enthralling, but the performances here, I think, is really what takes it.
I mean this is like my life. Like I'm living I'm living this. I work for a tech startup that is growing exponentially every year, and I just know like I just know that this is my future right here. So, yeah, something that I always think about. It's very close to home for me, like how this all works. And I agree with you that like yeah, many tech companies, this is their trajectory. It's really inevitable when you're dealing with late stage capitalism.
Yeah. Now, who do you identify with out of the three in your
Matt
in
jo-
your tech life?
Definitely Matt Johnson. Like I'm definitely the Matt Johnson character, I think.
You're the Doug.
Yeah, I'm the Doug.
Do you work with a bandana, with a headband?
I don't, but
I know you
maybe
have
I don't know. That's an
you
idea though, you know? Like maybe I should start working with a headband on. Yeah, it should come as no surprise. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was shot very well. I believe it's shot on film. It certainly looked like it was shot on film, and it wouldn't be out of the wouldn't be surprising. The Matt Johnson's like one of these. He's the type of director that likes to shoot on the type of. Looks like it was. Wait, no, it looks like it was shot on digital, but they must have added some like filters or something because it looked like it was shot on film to me at least. At any rate, like he, with his last movie Operation Avalanche, he shot on the type of cameras that were available back then in like in the 60s. So like I think he does a good job of trying to capture the look and the feel of the time period. Even though this movie didn't take place that long ago, I mean, it starts in the 80s and goes up through to what was it, like the early 2000s
Yeah.
when it ended. I thought that he did a good job of like capturing the era, and there definitely it was very funny. I enjoyed the humor. of it. I thought that the story itself was interesting. I liked the performances. I mean, like, Glenn Howerton, he's just going full force in this. Like, he's just going all out. The dude had so much rage in him throughout this whole movie. He was just kind of hilarious. So
exactly, and that was the draw for me, is to getting to see him do that, like, full rage that you get to see him sometimes do as Dennis on It's Always Sunny, but
yeah,
just to see more of it. And that was the only thing that was slightly disappointing, because I felt like it seemed like he was going to be a huge part of this movie, and he has a big part, but I felt like I didn't get enough Glenn Howerton.
you wanted more Glenn.
I wanted more Glenn Howerton.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, more of his character, certainly not wouldn't have been a bad thing, I don't think. But I like Jerry Baruchel's character too, and Matt Johnson's character. I thought all three of them did a really good job. Again, I liked the dialogue quite a bit. Thought it was a good script. Liked the music choices in this a lot too. Shout outs to including a NoFX song in here. That was something that kind of surprised me. Didn't expect to hear NoFX in here, but that was there.
Yeah, I think overall it was good enough for me. It was good enough for what it was, or what it is, which I knew that this wouldn't be anything other than, because of the story, I knew it wasn't going to be anything other than like, oh, this is a decent movie.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting greatness from it. I wasn't expecting anything that like blew my mind, but I was expecting a funny, entertaining sort of biopic, and that's exactly what I got. You have interesting characters in here. You have good dialogue. I thought it was shot very well again, and yeah, I even if you're not like super into tech, I think that there's still a lot of entertainment value from this that I think you could come away from it, enjoying it.
Oh yeah,
and I like it. I mean, it seems like Matt Johnson's gradually expanding his reach, and I like that. I want to see him continue to grow and do more things, do bigger things, because as long as it's not like, a Marvel movie or something, as long as he's still able to retain his voice and some creative control over whatever project he works on.
It does seem like that's like the worst case scenario now in film. Like, anyone that's, whether they have like maybe 2 to 4 films under their belt, and the kind of, that there's always this like unspoken fear of like, damn, I hope they don't get pulled into the Marvel universe. That would suck. Yeah,
I mean, for Matt Johnson, it's like I think it'd be cool, and I think it would be awful. Like, for me, as someone who really enjoys his movies, I think it would be awful. For him, I think it'd be great, because like, I know him, and I think that if he had the opportunity, he'd probably take it if it was a good enough project. And I think that would be great for his career. And I think that he would at least try to do something interesting to whatever he gets. But yeah, at the same time, it's like, I don't want to lose him to Disney, because it also seems like a lot of times when a director makes the jump over to like the Disney camp, it's like, that's it. Like, they're done. It's like Sam Raimi. It's pretty much.
Yeah, it does seem like
they never come back.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think we're ever going to see, friggin' what's his name? Sean, oh my God, why am I blanking? Gunn.
I know who you're talking about, but I also cannot think of his name.
James Gunn. I was thinking Sean Gunn, and that's his brother, James Gunn. Like, I don't think we're ever going to see him again. He's like full on. And that's great for them. But, for me as a fan, that's like, I don't know. I want you to come up with do your own stuff, man. At any rate, I do recommend Blackberry. I'm sure that this is going to drop on VOD before very long. It's an IFC film, so usually they have a pretty quick turnaround when they do theatrical releases. Keep an eye out for that. I would say that if you are a fan of Matt Johnson's other films, if you like Nirvana the Band, The Show, or The Dirties, or Operation Avalanche, then this is definitely worth a look. I think that you will like it quite a bit, so definitely recommend it. Let's go ahead and give it a score. Kevin, we'll start with you. What are you going to give Blackberry out of 10?
Like a 6.5, 7.
All right, I'm sitting at a 7.5 on this one. Love me some technology movies. Love me some tech movies. All right, let's move on. Talk about some of what we've been watching. Kevin, it is your turn this week.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
let me gear up for my very short
I have a short list too, so don't worry.
list. I think my list is shorter because my list is 0.
Oh,
I've got
okay.
no other movies. The only thing that I could talk about potentially is I rewatched Poltergeist because my wife has not seen Poltergeist. So that was kind of fun. That movie is you probably already know this, really fucking good.
I love Poltergeist.
So good.
Absolutely love that movie. It's one of the best horror films ever made.
I love the thing that I love most about it, outside of like the creature design, like towards the end when things really start to escalate. I just love how throughout the movie there's really no like everyone just kind of believes it, like the mom like right away is like, oh, this is fucked up, and then Craig T. Nelson comes home and she like displays everything for him and he's like, oh shit, this is real. And then everyone that comes into the situation is just like, well, this is real as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, like, if it was me after I saw the kitchen, what happened there, I'd be convinced. I'd be like, okay, something's going on here. Let's just go with it. Yeah, classic. If you haven't seen Poltergeist, dear God, what are you doing with your life? All right, I saw The Covenant, or Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, as it is called some places.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, this is another Guy Ritchie movie. The dude has been cranking him out like it's nothing over the last couple years. I think he's had 3 movies in the last 3 years. He's just spitting them out like it's... Yeah. Anyway, so I hated his last one, the Operation Fortune movie. Couldn't even finish it. Didn't even finish it. I absolutely could not stand it. I thought it was complete trash. This movie, however, was quite good. So yeah, I was surprised. This is a war movie. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal and Dar Salim. And the premise here is that Jake Gyllenhaal plays a sergeant, and he gets a new interpreter. He's deployed in Afghanistan, and Dar Salim plays his interpreter. And there's this horrible series of events that occurs in which their whole squad gets killed pretty much, and Jake Gyllenhaal's character is injured, and Dar Salim's character basically drags him for like 100 miles to safety. And what happens after he gets home is that due to the bureaucracy of our country and our government, it's difficult or impossible to get visas for this interpreter. And so half the movie is like the rescue and like the kind of harrowing experience that they go through, and then the other half is Jake Gyllenhaal trying to get this guy out of Afghanistan, this guy and his family out of Afghanistan to safety, because after this rescue occurs, the Taliban finds out, and this guy becomes like a local hero and like enemy number 1 with the Taliban. So it's quite good. It is very understated for a Guy Ritchie movie. When you think of Guy Ritchie and then war movie, you would probably think of something, pretty stylized, pretty wild. But I think he smartly kind of held back maybe his urges to go crazy with like the uber stylized camera work and violence and stuff like that. And what you have here is a pretty grounded war drama that works a lot better than I think if he just really went, full on lock, stock, or snatch with it. So yeah, I give it a late recommend. The Covenant. Maybe give it a look. It's on VOD right now. And then the other one that I saw this week was Enys Men. This is the Mark Jenkins one.
Oh yes, all right.
This is a surreal horror, psychological horror movie. Mm-hmm. Not really for me. I didn't expect this to be for me. I was kind of going into it hoping to see some really strong visuals. Like that was my one goal with this. It's like, I want to see something fucking beautiful. And I got that. This movie is largely just still shots of landscape, like just static camera shots of plants and foliage on an island. And that's like pretty much it. The movie for the first like 40 minutes or so is nothing but just this woman played by Mary Woodvine. She's like a wildlife researcher, I guess, who is alone on this tiny island, and it's just her job to observe what's going on with the ecosystem. So like the first 40 minutes of the movie is just her and her routine, like getting up, making tea, going out, looking at the plants, writing reports, turning on the generator, making dinner, like just sort of mundane day-to-day tasks. And we just see that over and over and over again. And then finally, halfway through the movie, some things start to happen, and there's this like kind of fungal growth that starts to occur, and it seems like it starts to make her like she kind of gets infected by it, and it makes her start to hallucinate, and then you get into the kind of surrealistic horror elements, but it's not really scary. It's not really, I mean, there's some kind of creepy moments, but it's very subdued. I mean, like this is almost a no burn. I'd call it's a ultra slow burn. And it's just, there's just not enough here in the way of a narrative. There are interesting elements, and again, looks amazing. Like it is a gorgeous movie, and for that, like I gave it like 2.5 stars on Letterboxd, but largely dialogue free. Also, like there's maybe 3 lines of dialogue in the whole thing. So it's almost completely dialogue free. Evidently, the director, Mark Jenkins, wrote this movie in like a couple hours and hand wrote the script. It was shot during lockdown, so it's very stripped down. It's very sparse.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you're into like experimental psychological horror movies that contain exactly what you would probably expect, then maybe check it out. But at the end of the day, it wasn't quite for me. And although it looked incredible, it just really wasn't there plot wise for me. I don't know how you would. I don't know how to gauge.
Yeah, I've been interested in watching this one, but I knew about the limited, very, very limited dialogue, which tells me that I have to be in the right mood for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I tried watching this before, like a week ago, and like after the first 10 minutes, I was like, okay, you know what? This isn't the right time for this. But today, actually, I was like, you know what? I'm in the mood. I'm in the right headspace for this. And I think I gained more from it, just being in the right headspace.
Yeah, no, I'm going to definitely check this out at some point.
Yeah, it's fine, I guess. I mean, comparing it to other recent experimental horror films, I'd say it's got more going for it on like the visuals, but like comparing it to something like Skinamarink, I thought that was Skinamarink was a little bit more engaging, but just didn't have quite as strong of visuals. This feels more like a museum piece, like something that you would see, in a darkened room in a museum, and there'd be a bench there, and you'd sit down and watch it for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then move on with your day. That's what this movie is, really. But thankfully, it's only 90 minutes. I really couldn't have done more, but yeah. Again, that's Enys Men. So it's on VOD. All right, let's talk about what we have in theaters. Fast 10 or Fast X is really the only. That's the big one. Nothing to say about it. Have you seen any of the Fast and Furious movies? I'm sure you saw the first one, right? You had to.
I feel like I had to.
I mean, because back in the day, like,
yeah, I don't know how I would go to.
There's no way you could have
that often.
Yeah, there's no way you could have avoided seeing the first one at least.
The funny thing though is that I probably have seen it like 9 to 12 times, but I don't remember anything about it.
It's an interesting series, I will say. I didn't watch any of them for the longest time because I saw Too Fast, Too Furious back in the day when it came out, and I absolutely hated it. And I hated the first one too. And then at that was it for me. Like, I didn't see any of them until I think Fast 5 came out, and I was like, okay, well, let me just kind of revisit this franchise. And I had a really good time with 4, 5, 6, and 7, and I think 8 also. But then the last one I did not like very much. So I don't know. It's a crazy franchise, that's for sure.
Definitely.
So that's theaters. VOD got a number of things here. Starting with the 16th, we got Everything Went Fine. And then so that's a French film from Francois Ozon.
All right. Okay.
That's not really my thing right now.
No thanks.
Not in the mood for some the dry French dramas. We got Out and About. This is, I don't know what. We got Anna Nicole Smith, You Don't Know Me. That's going to be on Netflix. Obviously, that's an Anna Nicole Smith documentary. Got Assassin Club coming out. Highly entertaining globe-trotting action thriller. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Sam Neill's in that one. Noomi Rapace and Henry Golding. Got Butterfly Vision. That's going to be on Mubi on the 17th. Then on the 18th, we have The Haunting of Hellhole Mine, starring Tom Sizemore in a ridiculous-looking poster for that. Then on the 19th, we have Dottie and Soul. We got Motion Detected. It's a thriller. Paranoid thriller. We got The Thief Collector. This is a captivating crime documentary about the heist of one of the most valuable paintings of the 20th century. 20th century. We got The Outpost coming out. This is interesting. This is directed by Joe Latruglio, and it's a horror movie, horror thriller, starring Beth Dover, who, as far as I know, has never done any kind of dramatic roles. She's always done comedies. So, yeah, this one's kind of weird. Let's see what else we have here. It's Quieter in the Twilight. I think that's a documentary. We got Come Out Fighting. It's a war film. World War II looks like. Got Mercy. We have On Our Way. Let's see what else. White Men Can't Jump. That's going to be on Hulu. That's the remake, of course.
Thanks. No.
And finally, we have Robots coming out.
Robots. Just a broad movie about robots, maybe.
It's a comedy starring Shailene Woodley and Jack Whitehall.
Oh my god, that
it's like
poster. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. It's like it takes place in a future where like people can have robot versions of themselves, and like I don't know. It doesn't look very good to me. Blu-ray this week. We got a couple things here. We got Moving On. We got Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre. That's the Guy Ritchie one that I couldn't finish watching because I hated it so much. We got The Magic Flute, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Let's see, Convoy Busters from 1978. Longest Yard, the original one's getting a 4K release. Shanghai Joe from 1973. Shanghai Joe.
Oh, the old Shanghai Joe.
Yep.
Classic, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Samurai Wolf 1 and 2. It's like a little double pack there. In the Cut from 2003. LA Wars from 1994. Coming out on the MVD Rewind collection. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open that in a new tab for later. Honey from 1981. POW The Escape from 1986. Let's see. You know what? That's pretty much it. What about Criterion's?
We got one Criterion. All right. It's called Targets from 1968. Peter Bogdanovich. Here's the tagline. Targets are people, and you could be one of them! ! Here's the synopsis. The fate of a washed-up horror actor intersects with a psychotic sniper on a killing spree.
Hell yeah.
You got it. How do you not sign up for that?
Hell yeah.
Targets are people.
I am definitely interested in this one. Gonna open that in a new tab. All right, I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @FilmPulseNet and @FilmPulseKevin. And if you have a minute, consider reviewing us on iTunes. That'd be great. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.